welcome to the Twist News. I'm Erika Grey.
Welcome, my name is Don Pravda.
Don, Iran is really the villain,
Absolutely.
the bad boy of the Middle East. My goodness.
Absolutely.
They're the villain nation.
I agree with the Prime Minister who is talking about it, Mr. Netanyahu.
Mm-hmm.
They fund Hamas. They fund Hezbollah. They fund other terrorist groups. And they fund Houthis and groups we don't even know about. They plan assassinations and they plan kidnapping in Europe. Not exactly happy stuff. And that we did see an interview with a member of the Belgian Parliament, Mr. Theo Francken. I mean, hostage taking, kidnapping in Europe, threats to people.
He stated that there's absolutely no negotiation with Iran, with the leadership that is in Iran now. None. No negotiation.
Yeah, this member of parliament in Belgium feels he cannot negotiate with this nation as long as this particular regime is in power. That's how serious it really is. So imagine what a country like Israel is thinking.
Yes.
If an outside nation wishes to fund terror, and in fact it's within their own country, Israel, there's a very explosive, dangerous situation. Of course, it already exists now, but apparently it's getting worse.
Yes, and they also fund Hamas.
Absolutely.
And now you have China that wants to get in on the peace process. What a shocker that is. I mean, I have to wonder when China announced that, if it's not clickbait, hey, we need a lot of views. We're going to come out and state publicly that we want to host Israeli and Palestinians for a peace conference. Either that or it was a zinger to the United States. Oh, we're going to get the United States good now. We're going to announce this publicly, and this thing's going to go viral. No, I wish it was that simple and funny, but it's not. They are serious because they just hosted Iran and Saudi Arabia, and Saudi Arabia just now reaches out to Hamas as well and wants to make nice with Hamas. I mean, this is really getting frightening, possibly, for Israel.
Obviously, Saudi Arabia has the funding, the ability to wreak havoc on Israel and help certain groups. However, that's not totally clear what will happen. These countries are going to talks. And, you know, Saudi Arabia has problems at its border for a long time. This war in Yemen rages. It goes on and on. There's no stop to it. And they need Iran to try and perhaps at this time end that war, which is on the border of the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. It's the 40,000 people in the royal family. They have vast control and resources, oil, money, influence, and they've got a situation nearby in Yemen that concerns them. And they also have their own internal conflicts, like many nations have. Maybe they have a little bit more at this time. Israel, of course, has had some protests on the left wing, but when does it end?
Netanyahu actually is pretty optimistic still about Saudi Arabia.
He is.
Because he feels that Saudi Arabia knows the strengths of Israel and knows what Israel is doing through the Abraham Accords with other nations. He's still hopeful that there can be some kind of an agreement with Saudi Arabia.
And it's not like Saudi Arabia and Israel are strangers. It's not like Saudi Arabia and America are strangers. America can play a very big role in the situation to prevent future outbreaks of violence. So here's where U.S. can help a great deal. We'll see how it flies. We'll see what develops from these negotiations, and we'll let you know.
Well, what about China, though? Let's go back to China. Wanting in, all of a sudden becoming this negotiator in the Middle East, a region it knows nothing about.
Well, or they're surely far away in Asia. but
I'm sorry.
far away. However,
Yeah, a region that you would not expect it to be high on its priority list for study, for
right.
concern.
But China is often called now the most, well, it is the largest population in the world. That in itself is something to seriously consider. However, they are not been players, particularly in the Middle East, but they're building ports all over the world.
Oh, yes, the Belt and Road Initiative.
That's right.
The other thing with China that's interesting here is you and I have talked about how Israel becomes a prize for the empires.
Yes,
And you
absolutely.
see this jockeying for position in this peace process, this jockeying of we're going to be the entity that helps this move along. And usually it's been the United States, European Union, Russia even got in on the Troika. And when those meetings were taking place, now China. The leading empires all want in. And didn't you state, Don, that you were quoting Netanyahu actually, that the Palestinians are only 2% of the
Yes.
Arab population.
That's all there is. 2% of the Arab world is the Palestinian population. And right next door in Egypt is an enormous country with very young people in Egypt, as are other nations. However, China wants to be a player. They're a global leader. They have the largest country population in the world. They think they can influence the agreements. And this is very, very unlikely. Who can influence it will be those who are the peace partners with Israel in the Abraham Accords. And of course, others are welcome, but we know who our partners are for peace. We know we're not strangers, as Mr. Netanyahu
Yeah, but I
is
don't
claiming.
see them brokering peace with a two-state solution. Is that what you're referencing when you're saying those within the Abraham Accords? That this two-state solution has to be done away with?
No, absolutely not. Not possible.
It's archaic. It's
Not
dinosaur policy now. And
But-
it's not possible. And Israel's in a totally new
However,
place, which we've talked about.
It is used as a tactic constantly. Two-state solutions, a tactic, like a weapon. If you don't accept it, we will not negotiate.
And Theo Francken basically stated that the politicians in Europe are totally in the dark of what's really involved in the entire issue. It's like they just repeat what they've heard and now it becomes policy. But we see a lot of that. We see that in the US media, these terms repeated over and over again. And you wonder if they really know what it means.
Well, I'd like to tell you that Mr. Netanyahu's government, his cabinet, they've been around the block in life. They have a very good idea who is who, what is what, who the players are, what has to be done. And obviously, China is not one of the pieces to the puzzle, but Bahrain, United Arab Emirates, and hopefully Saudi Arabia comes back into the realm of a partner with Israel.
But they're
not strangers.
But this initiative on the part of China has to be such another nightmare for Netanyahu. Trying to move away, he's trying to be vocal about how they really don't want peace. They want to do away with Israel. And now you have a major, major empire like China coming out and saying, we want to spearhead these talks for the two-state solution. But again, I think these politicians repeat terms that they don't even know what they mean. And I don't think they're really looking at, and they haven't really studied what a two-state solution would do to the current agreements that these nations even have with Israel. Because you're looking at a rotten potato and a healthy potato. A rotten potato meaning that it's like a banana republic, and the Israel now is so strong in so many areas. And there's no comparison. So if you put equal states side by side, you're going to have that potato that's not healthy and needs aid and needs all kinds of things because it's essentially a banana republic. And you have Israel that's very, very strong, but now it's going to take from that nation because now you're going to divide up the land. And EU stated that tourism is one of the industries that would be affected, greatly affected. Not to mention that it then opens Israel to even more threats because that's never really been the real aim. The real aim is to get the state and then kick the Israeli state to the curb, so to speak.
Well,
and then take over the whole nation. Isn't that their game plan?
Yes, absolutely true. We surely agree on that one.
Okay. And nobody listens to Netanyahu. They're not listening to those voices. They're hearing what they believe, what they endorse. They don't even know what they endorse. That's what Theo Francken had to say.
Right.
I can believe that they don't know what they endorse. They just, let's look at a term right now. Territorial integrity. That's a geopolitical term that Blinken uses all the time. It's one of his faves. Territorial integrity. That's like loaded.
Nice expression.
Nice expression. Well, what about the territorial integrity of Israel? Is he he's got so much respect for the territorial integrity of Ukraine. What about the territorial integrity of Israel? He doesn't have it. He's a two-stater. Okay. He's a two-stater.
But, Mr. Francken, in this interview, he was very clear.
He's not fighting for the territorial integrity.
His nation
territorial integrity.
Been very anti-Israel.
I have integrity, Don.
Okay,
and
I'm
I
glad.
have territorial integrity.
I'm gonna write this down after the broadcast. You have integrity.
Territorial. I have territorial integrity.
Territorial integrity. Okay.
Sorry.
I'm for that. Okay. And
he says it almost robotic too. And the territorial integrity of Ukraine.
Okay.
Sorry, it's like a soul has been taken over. Sorry.
I'd say
as I make fun of Blinken.
I have to say, if New Jersey attacked New York City through Staten Island, I have the impression the folks at Staten Island might attack New Jersey.
We're going to be on that Staten Island ferry. We're going to be filming.
We're going to be filming
showing the Statue of Liberty.
We're going to ride by the Statue of Liberty. It's springtime in New York. It's been some beautiful weather here, and it's warm again. And we're going to be on that ferry and see the beautiful Lady of Liberty and touch on one of the famous 5 boroughs, Staten Island. However, if they were attacked by New Jersey, Brooklyn would follow, and I have to believe eventually Queens, the Bronx, Manhattan, they might join the fight also to keep their boroughs in the integrity of New York City.
The territorial
has
integrity.
Been together since
I have territorial integrity.
1898. There's been a New York City, and let's not forget the glory of building that Brooklyn Bridge.
That's an incredible. That's my favorite.
I'm a proponent
bridge.
for the Brooklyn Bridge.
Beautiful at night.
And is.
But nobody respects the okay, so he really likes that term, which to me kind of doesn't make sense. But he doesn't respect the territorial integrity of Israel.
The Prime Minister, and I feel is very important. Nobody is stopping worshipers from going to their mosque on the Temple Mount. What happened is that there were terrorists inside the mosque controlling the mosque in the situation. People were not allowed to leave. There was a confrontation. Israel is pro-religion. Israel has faiths from around the world. People are free to study their religion. They're free to worship. And I agree with Prime Minister. Nobody wants to prevent Muslims from their place of worship. It's just not true. We want people to go in peace and pray.
But they were taking the clips that they wanted to take and eliminating the bad guys that were in the room and making it look like Israel just went in there and opened fire.
Right. This did not happen. It's wrong. And I think Israel should respond with a little more presence in public relations, because all they have is one story about this violence, which was not necessary. The soldiers...
I saw the other clip, Don. I saw it.
Okay.
What was really going on there.
But I agree with the Prime Minister's analysis. Nobody wanted violence at the mosque on the Temple Mount. Not the Jewish people, not the soldiers. Nobody wanted confrontation and violence. It's just wrong.
But this provided the two-staters a lot of ammunition. Well, they don't seem to have a real hard time. They seem to always find ammunition for their two-state nonsense. They do. They always seem to find a lot of ammunition for it, for their two-state
Of course.
charade, because that's what it is, isn't it? Isn't it like just the charade? Because it's not what they really want. Because isn't it the Palestinians that are the reason that none of these initiatives have ever gone forward, that they were always breaking the rules?
Well, Mr. Arafat, who became a billionaire, did not truly want peace. He used these expressions for peace as a tactic, and he said despite a former government almost giving him everything that he wanted, he said it was not enough. He wanted to rule as a dictator, which he did, and had a very unhappy ending.
It's just like Zelensky going around to everybody how they all need to give money and arms, and it was just discovered that he pocketed like 400 million.
Correct, and we might be seeing, Erika, at the Jerusalem Post conference in June, the Green Prince once again, the son of a terrorist from Israel, and he lets you know, what do they do with the money they pocketed for themselves?
Yeah, just unbelievable. It's just unbelievable.
And I hope we have a chance to meet with him. In fact,
and interview him.
If he comes, and interview him.
Of course. Well, Don, I think that wraps up our show.
It does. And so in springtime, shalom, shalom, shalom.
Check out our Amazon store. If you don't subscribe to our channel, hit the subscribe button and stay tuned for more.